Hi friends, let me read you a quote. Treasuries sold off Monday to extend the worst bond slide in decades as UK tax cuts fueled concern a wave of government spending will compel global central banks to become more hawkish. What are they talking about? What is anyone talking about? Everyone is saying something, but in fact, no one is actually saying anything. That quote is from Bloomberg, and I have no idea what they're saying, and I've read economists that have no idea what they're saying. And that's the problem. There is so much noise, so much conversation, so much fear-mongering, so much misinterpretation of data, so much wrong anecdotal thinking. Enough. Enough. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, was on Capitol Hill in the last couple of weeks for his annual congressional meetings. And he said that we are watching a tale of two cities. And he hit the nail on the head. One tale is about the economic realities. The other tale is about the Federal Reserve induced problems. So let's talk about the economic reality. Right now, according to JP Morgan, the S&P valuation is as low as it was in 2014, 2016, 2018, and 2020, all which were followed by periods of robust growth. It just so happens, by the way, each of those were election years, and two of those were midterm election years like we find ourselves in right now. The S&P 500 for quarter two of 2020 just notched an all-time historical record high on earnings per share. Let me say that cleanly. Never before in the history of the S&P 500 earnings per share have we ever seen as large of an earnings per share number as we did in the middle of the summer. Anybody remember what the market was doing in the middle of the summer? It doesn't appear to be reflective of the economic data. Right now, there are 2 available jobs for every 1 worker. Wages are skyrocketing to incentivize employee retention and employee acquisition. In quarter 2, also, the S&P notched twice the earnings per share than were expected. I could list more data than we have time to listen to about the realities of the solid footing that the economy is sitting on. However, let's look at the second tale, the Federal Reserve tale. They skyrocketed the money supply to historical levels. We are also under what's known as an abundant reserve regime, meaning the last 50 to 75 years, the Federal Reserve has used what's called a scarcity regime model, meaning they want to keep very little cash on hand and manage the money supply. Now they're keeping an abundant, they're hoarding cash for what? Because they don't understand money supply or economics. And that's clear because they continue to aggressively and quite frankly, cavalierly raise interest rates, believing that it will stop inflation. Will somebody answer me this? Why is inflation not going down? The Federal Reserve has raised at unprecedented and extremely aggressively levels, far more aggressively than they ever insinuated or anyone ever thought coming into 2022. Why does my lettuce still cost so much? Because inflation will not be controlled by raising interest rates. Paul Volcker, the Federal Reserve chair from the early 1980s that Ronald Reagan appointed to deal with the Carter era inflation, understood this. He let interest rates go where they will, and he focused on the money supply. Because the money supply, how much money is in circulation, is what matters. In the last 21 meetings, the Federal Reserve has not mentioned money supply one time. Imagine being a school teacher and never mentioning your students. Imagine being an apple farmer and never talking about apples. Imagine being a gardener and never talking about your plants. It's absolutely absurd. But it's a clear indication that this Federal Reserve, quite frankly, has no idea what they're doing. And to be totally candid, that's a big concern. Because the tale of two cities is this. Economically, we're not in recession, we're not near recession, we are ready to continue to grow. And with the Europe heading into a deep recession, that makes the American economy even more valuable. But the other side of that coin, which is the reality we're in, is that the Federal Reserve keeps tracking on the course that they're in. They will induce recession in the US because of their irresponsible practices. Now, there is still a chance that we can have what's called a soft landing, which means the Federal Reserve wises up to understand the money supply, to understand inflation, and to understand interest rates in this environment and begin to throttle back and allow the economy to go where it will. Because if you continue to raise interest rates, you're going to begin to see unemployment rise. So how many people does the Federal Reserve have to fire before they feel like they've done a good job? And the misconception is that by raising interest rates, you stymie the demand side. But that's not only true, because you also hurt the supply side. So if you raise interest rates, sure, the demand for new houses will go down, but builders will build fewer homes as well. The cause and effect of raising interest rates when it's not correlated to inflation has unintended consequences, and we are on the precipice, if the Federal Reserve cannot gather the appropriate economic information to start making informed decisions. There's a very important meeting coming up in the middle of October, and that will continue to give us a window into the Federal Reserve's thinking. If they continue to raise interest rates at the rate and with the information that they continue to communicate, we are seeing a rising risk of recession in 2023. Now, there is still plenty of time for a soft landing. However, imagine, and I've been a South Carolina resident my entire life, and I have seen hurricane after hurricane, tropical storm after tropical storm, and seen some massive ones make landfall. But many of them simply turn up the coast, or many of them simply turn down the coast. We've got a hurricane sitting outside, and that is the Federal Reserve off the coast. We don't know whether it is going to impact, it's going to go up, or it's going to go down. And the next couple of Federal Reserve meetings will give us a clear indication there. But here's what you need to understand if you're one of our clients. We've got the water, we've got the food, we've got the generator, and we prepared in April and May and in July and August for hurricane if necessary, or if, like we've seen in almost every single midterm election year since 1950, October, November, and December are robust growth months relative to the rest of the year. We are ready for acceleration, but we are also ready for impact. Watch the Federal Reserve and understand there's a tale of two cities going on. There's the economic realities, and there's the Federal Reserve-induced unintended consequences if they continue to chart this course. We'll keep giving you the facts. I'll keep giving you the information. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.